Welcome to the Commander's Journey, a journey for new Commander players ready to uncover their hidden magic potential.
Welcome back. I'm Joel.
And I'm Alex.
And we have another deck tech for you. This one is going to be pretty darn awesome. Extus, the Blood Avatar. Is that how you say it?
No, he's Extus Oriq Overlord. And then he also makes it just a Blood Avatar.
Oh my god, this is really cool. So, excuse me if my eyes are all like dry and itchy. It's been a nice summery day over here. But I just wanted to, at the beginning of the show, give a quick shout out to my buddy Alex, who these deck techs you see, we don't do them as often. We just do this show out of the love of our heart for Magic. This guy builds the entire deck, takes it very seriously, and like considers every piece. So by the time you look at our decks online, you know they're balanced, and they're balanced for a certain budget, but they're also it's the whole deck. I know so many. I watch a bunch of people doing deck techs all the time, and I rarely get like a full deck or a fully balanced deck. You just get like, oh, I'd use these pieces and I'd use that, and I do these really cool combos. But that's not what you get with us. It's not what you get with Alex. You get a full deck that plays well. I know it plays well because he kicked my ass with it the other day online. But I mean, here we go, man. So first thoughts on this deck and this card whenever you got it.
Yeah. So Extus Oriq Overlord is one generic white, black, and a black for a legendary creature, human warlock. It has double strike in Magecraft that says whenever you cast or copy an instant or sorcery spell, return target non-legendary creature card from your graveyard to your hand. And it's a 2/4. And then the opposite side, which is very exciting, it's Awaken the Blood Avatar, 6 black and a red for a sorcery. It says as additional cost to cast the spell, you may sacrifice any number of creatures. The spell costs 2 less to cast for each creature sacrificed this way. And each opponent sacrifices a creature, create a 3/6 black and red avatar creature token with haste, and whenever this creature attacks, deals 3 damage to each opponent. So that was a mouthful. Extus is a really fun deck. Joel will tell you, we spent about an hour before recording. I decided to play it. Every deck, by the way, we build, I play test at least a number of times. I can, whatever amount of time I possibly can get in, I play that deck for that amount of time. And this deck was really a blast to play. But what I want to say is I had all the bells and whistles, all of them. And then I didn't realize how many go-to cards have really increased in price really over the last month. Because all of a sudden I threw it into, a cost calculator, I threw it into Architect, and all of a sudden I was like, wow, this deck is out of the one I'm playing, which I wasn't playing anything too fancy. It's like 600. And I'm like, oh my God, that's by far the most expensive deck we will have on the show.
Yeah.
So I got it down to under 400 as of the time of recording. I'm going to be honest, any less than this, I think you kind of lose some of the appeal and fun of the deck. So this is going to be as right now, the most expensive deck we've done, and I do apologize for that. But I really feel like if you got the money or you have some of these, expensive cards, this hopefully won't be too bad, because really it's a fun deck to play, Joel. It really is.
Yeah, it's definitely a fun deck. It was a fun deck to even get beat by. Like I didn't like it, but I noticed there's just a lot of cool things you can do with this deck, and because of the colors, I think it also kind of lends itself to being a pricier deck, because you need to be able to ramp into these cards, and that's not so easy in Mardu colors and white, black, and red. But anyway, this is a great deck. Let's get into it. So we always like to give a breakdown of just the synergies and the game plan. So the overall game plan, what is the overall game plan with Extus? What are you trying to do with this deck?
The deck is going to win with combat damage. I at least couldn't come up with a way I really went any other way beyond our general alt-win conditions. I've won entirely with combat damage every time, whether it be in a multi-person game or not. The main way you're doing it is, even though Extus will get a little bit of damage in, really it's the blood avatars. And it's kind of fun, like when you have like 6 or 8 blood avatars that you're swinging at people, and you can do them a lot in one turn, to be honest, because what's interesting about this, I've never had a sorcery in the command zone. And it's the creature doesn't count for commander damage. Let me be very clear about that. If you summon a blood avatar, it's a token, completely separate, no commander damage with that. But it does have that really cool text. It's going to make them sacrifice creature whenever you cast it, so it'll lower their defenses. It'll be able to, just on the swing, they're going to lose E3 life, all your opponents, and then whatever you're hitting with is at least going to hit for 3 damage. I mean, when you get a number of them out, and then all of a sudden you have a bunch of blood avatars swing at people, it's really satisfying.
Yeah,
and you can really crank these things out with the sacrifice to reduce the cost.
yeah, and just remember when you're playing against this, it's not a little 3/6. Just think of it like a 6/6.
Yeah.
Really, I didn't quite get that. I wasn't like paying a lot of attention to it when you first swung in at me. I'm like, wait, what are those? What are you swinging at me with?
I think in one of the games, Joel, I got 2 or 3 out right against you.
Yeah, you were able to get a few out. Yeah, the more you cast that back spell, it was really nasty, really cool. Okay, so let's talk about some of the synergistic ways we get there. So everybody, we hope people like break down their decks into sections, into thinking about the ramp, the card draw, the removal, all those types of things. So when we think about it, we like to think about, we like to just highlight the synergistic ones. Of course, in the deck, you have a lot of each of these, but or within these categories. But the synergistic cards, this just talks about some of our best synergistic game plan cards in the deck. So we'll start off with Flamekin Herald. This is a new one. This is a cool one. It's 2 and a red. It's a creature elemental wizard, and it just says commander spells you cast have cascade, and it's a 3/2.
So it says commander spells, not commander creature, commander spells. Your sorcery is a commander spell, as far as I know in the rules. So
and we're sticking with that until we're told otherwise.
We're sticking until they're told. It makes sense to me, and I didn't double check it, but I'm pretty confident in that enough that I decided not to, and I couldn't be in those words. But anyways, yeah, no, Flamekin Herald is one of those ones. Just as we said, you'll end up casting this commander a lot. Like this commander, I remember I'll a couple times get Extus out early, just apply a little pressure. It's a 2/4. It's a nice blocker, has double strike, nice protection. And then you have the ability to kind of play that magecraft game. And then if it just dies, which likely will, go back in the command zone. So you have to pay a little more for it. But then I just start cranking out these, again, blood avatars. And each time I cast that blood avatar spell, Flamekin Herald's going to cascade if it's in play, right? So all of a sudden I'm getting to play stuff for free. I'm getting a bunch of blood avatars, and then just it's an expensive spell because it doesn't count their cost reduction into it. Mm-hmm. It just looks at the fact it costs 8 mana on the mana cost symbol up there. So,
yep,
really, you can cascade into big things.
Yeah, and I was waiting for a deck that I could put this creature in. I was thinking of those partner decks, thinking this would be really good in those too. But this is definitely because, like you said, you cast your commander a lot in this game because you're casting that backside, that blood avatar. Another,
I want to say too, real quick, Joel, if you were having trouble playing this deck, it's probably because you're not casting blood avatar enough. I'm not kidding. I just started dumping all my mana into blood avatar. 3/6 is a good blocker, right? But that's not really where the appeal's at. But yeah, just want to throw that in.
Yeah, that's definitely the fuel. That's the fuel of this deck. After Flamekin, let's talk about Field of the Dead. It's a land. Field of the Dead enters the battlefield tapped. You add a colorless. And whenever Field of the Dead or another land enters the battlefield under your control, if you control 7 or more lands with different names, you create a 2/2 black zombie creature token. And in Commander, we always get to 7 lands with different names. So you're making zombies with your land.
Exactly. And I want to say, too, that you make so many zombies after a while. I mean, this deck has a lot of different names on the different lands you have, and a lot of the deck is making these tokens to sacrifice the blood avatar, right? So having that attached to a land, you just get so much value. I mean, really, once you hit those 7 different lands, it's a land draw. It's landfall. It's just landfall, make a 2/2. Landfall, make a 2/2, and it's not like it's even it comes into play tapped or anything. It's completely untapped. Good to go, static ability, taps from, it's just what you want.
Yeah. And not a lot of people run land removal, but you should run a little bit of targeted land removal. But yeah, this is one of those things that does work too. Over time, people don't realize it just gets annoying because it just does work. and it's perfect. You have more zombies to sacrifice for your blood avatars.
Exactly.
Another synergistic card, part of the game plan, is Secure the Wastes. It's X and a white for an instant. You just put X 1/1 white warrior creature tokens onto the battlefield.
Really simple card. If you have Extus in play on the front half, he will let you get a creature back for free. So not only do you making tokens for the eventual want to bring out your blood avatars and as many as you can afford mana wise, but also too, you can recover, a creature that you lost at a part of the game or a sacrifice that you've done earlier. It's doing everything the deck wants to do. It's an instant. So you'll get that recursion at the same time, makes the tokens to sacrifice the blood avatar.
Beautiful. And then we could not forget, as part of our game plan, Anointed Procession, 3 and a white for an enchantment. If an effect would create one or more tokens under your control, it creates twice that many of those tokens instead.
How is Anointed Procession $41 right now, Joel?
All these cards have been creeping up. It's that good though, because
we need a preprint of it. I couldn't believe how bad it's gone. I remember when I pulled one out of my Omnicut box, and it was like I thought it was a miss at the moment. I don't know what I was thinking. I even thought it was good then, but I was like, oh my god, we need a reprint of this card. But anyways, I didn't mean to cut off topic. Yep. I'm so sorry, Joel. But again, you're going to make a lot of tokens, whether it be treasure tokens, whether that be, tokens to sacrifice to your blood avatar. You're going to be making tokens. And I want to say about a crazy loop I had gotten easy to do in this deck. You get your Field of the Dead out. You have your Anointed Procession in play. I had I was just making 2 freaking zombies every single time I'm landfalling, and that gets hard to deal with, especially if you're swinging in on people, right? It came out of nowhere. And then I was doing tricks too, like I was ramping a bit with our next card that we haven't got to yet. I had loops going. I was just in magical Christmas land, and it wasn't like it was an odd game. I just was rolling and running around with it.
Yeah. And you got a lot of ways you make tokens in here that you can sacrifice, but you also have a lot of treasure token makers and different things. So this card becomes like an all-star in those cases, because you're just making tons of them, which you want, so you can use them to get that blood avatar going. Love that card. Very expensive card. Okay, so those are some of the game plan, our synergistic game plan cards. Let's talk about some synergy with ramp. What cards are great? Let's start with a classic, a staple, a Solemn Simulacrum. It's 4 for an artifact creature golem. When Solemn Simulacrum enters the battlefield, you may search your library for a basic land card, put that card on the battlefield, tap, then shuffle. And when Solemn Simulacrum dies, you may draw a card. It's a 2/2.
Solemn Simulacrum is such an MVP of this deck. I almost put it just with the good cards. It's just so amazing. It's card draw. It is ramp. Extus can let you bring it back over and over again into your hand. I mean, I got a little loop going where I was saying I had Anointed Procession. I had Field of the Dead. So I'm making the tokens, and I'm sacrificing the tokens to stuff to make mana, and then I'm casting a spell that will bring, not even sacrifice tokens. I was sacrificing Solemn Simulacrum, and it's bringing him right back to that. I was doing a removal spell with Extus, get rid of something my opponents had, bring Solemn back, put Solemn in play, Field of the Dead's pumping out something else, right? An extra trigger on Field of the Dead. It was gross. It was fantastic. And it was one of those things, like on the other side of the board, they knew it was a problem, but it still wasn't as bad as something other players were doing, but it felt really good on the as I was playing it,
Yeah, I think especially with the way I've been noticing, like the decks I play against you, Alex, where you build in a lot of these. It's not like these infinite combo things, which we're not fans of these infinite. It's just these little combos, these little things that just slowly just give you big, huge turns. And then it's like you feel like after a turn or two, it's like, damn it, I'm never gonna catch up with Alex on that one because of all those crazy loops and things you can get yourself into when you have such synergy in your deck. Solemn, he's and another really synergistic ramp card is Phyrexian Tower, which is another classic, really powerful legendary land. You tap it for a colorless, or you can tap it, sack a creature, and add 2 black mana to your mana pool. So.
I was going to say, we have some good card draw cards in the deck that care about things dying. Imagine you have your Phyrexian Tower out, you sacrifice your solemn simulacrum to your Phyrexian Tower, making 2 mana. You go in and then you cast a removal spell either using that mana or keeping it in the pool. Get your solemn simulacrum right back, put it back into play. Get your Field of the Dead triggers. You just keep on going around and around. I mean. It's a weird type of synergy in this deck, which I find very satisfying, especially as a player that's played for a while. I was very impressed. This deck's trying to do a lot, but it surprisingly comes together well. And even if it doesn't mean you won the game, it really feels like your deck did what it wanted to do.
Yeah, again, having to cast that Blood Avatar spell as many times as you can during a game. Best synergistic card draw. So let's get into some card draw. So some ramp. Let's talk about some card draw. We have, to start off here, Mentor the Meek. It's 2 and a white for a creature, human, soldier. Whenever another creature with power 2 or less enters the battlefield under your control, you may pay 1. If you do draw a card, it's a 2/2.
So you making a lot of tokens in this deck. They're 1/1s. They're 2/2s. Mentor the Meek will, if you have the mana, let you keep drawing off of them. We talked about Solemn Simulacrum. That'll trigger this. A lot of cards, the Extus itself will trigger this because it's only 2 power. Again, a lot of stuff does what the deck wants. And so if you have the mana for it, it just becomes a crazy good card draw engine.
Yes, it does. Especially with all the tokens, like you said, you're making. Yeah. That's where Mentor the Meek loves to live. And another super all-star as far as card draw and really synergistic in this deck is Liliana Dreadhorde General for black legendary planeswalker Liliana. Whenever a creature you control dies, you draw a card. +1, you create a 2/2 black zombie creature token. There's that zombie. Oh wait, it died. I can draw a card. -4, each player sacrifices 2 creatures, which you love to do in token decks because it's like, here, I sack 2 tokens, you go ahead and sack 2 good things. And then -9, each opponent chooses a permanent they control of each permanent type and sacrifice the rest. A little bit of a board sweep. Comes in with 6 loyalty.
Yeah, so Liliana, another card. Again, it's whenever a creature you control dies. It's not a non-token creature, any creature. And you are going to be sacrificing a lot of tokens. Not only is your -4 not going to hit you as hard, but you can make tokens with her, and then when things die on your board, which they will, and you want that to happen for yourself, you all of a sudden will have a crazy large hand. So definitely Liliana Dreadhorde General. If I was playing against this deck, I'd take her out immediately. Honestly, in general, with the Liliana, I would take her out regardless who's playing it. There's something up.
Yeah. Anytime I see the Dreadhorde General, I think you should take her out because she's always powerful, but especially in a deck like what Extus is trying to do, and those avatars are trying to do. So there you go. There's some synergistic card draw spells. Again, there's a bunch more card draw in the deck, and there are other synergistic cards in the deck. We're just pointing out some of the best synergies, or the ones that we like a lot. Best synergistic single target removal. I love what you said. They all are. Everything's good.
I couldn't pick out a standout, Joel. I just didn't have it in me. All of them are cheap, efficient removal that just are instants or sorceries.
You got you got Chaos Warp. You got Despark. You got all the classics in there.
All the classics. I made sure I hit all of them. And then again, every time you'll do that with Extus, you're removing something, you'll get something back. So you are, it's card advantage in that way, right? You get another card back in your hand, often something you want. You'll remove something there spell. So what normally would be card parity turns out to be card advantage with Extus in play. Again, and they're just all the hits, all of them.
Nice. Next category, best synergistic board wipes. We have Austere Command for white and a white. For a sorcery, you choose 2. Destroy all artifacts, destroy all enchantments, destroy all creatures with converted mana cost 3 or less, or destroy all creatures with converted mana cost 4 or greater.
Austere Command's a fantastic example. If Extus is in play and I want to keep him around, I will destroy all the weak things, maybe take out some artifacts or enchantments while at it. Or let's say I have all my blood avatars out and I would like to pave the way a bit, get rid of all the big stuff. Yeah. They have no converted mana cost. They are a token. I literally just austere command, wipe the floor of everything big that could potentially block a 3/6. So they're either chump blocking against me or I'm just getting in for free.
I love austere command. Choose your own board wipe. It's beautiful. It's great. Some of our best synergistic recursion and protection, which I think are important in this deck. We have Karmic Guide, 3 white and a white for a creature angel spirit. It's flying and protection from black. Its echo cost is 3 white and a white. So the echo is at the beginning of your upkeep. If this came under your control since the beginning of your last upkeep, you sacrifice it unless you pay its echo cost. And when Karmic Guide enters the battlefield, you return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield, and it's a 2/2.
So Karmic Guide, first of all, I couldn't imagine a scenario in which you really want to pay the echo cost, but it's there if you want it. But anyways, Extus in of itself is recursion, right? You don't always have him in play, but he is there as recursion. So your commander has recursion on it, which even on top of that, I'd like having some extra recursion in the deck. And this is a really powerful choice because what it says is very specifically when it enters the battlefield, return to our creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. So, it's not the biggest deal in the world if, you let your creatures die or whatnot, but it's just another way you can pull it back.
Mm-hmm. Another good card in recursion protection, I think this is the protection part. It's Selfless Spirit, another classic for 1 and a white creature spirit. Cleric flying, sacrifice Selfless Spirit. Creatures you control gain indestructible until end of turn. It's a 2/1.
And then the other card, too, is also very similar, Joel, if you want to do that one.
Yeah, the other one is very much like it is Selfless Glyph Weaver. It's 2 and a white for a creature human cleric. You exile Selfless Glyph Weaver, and creatures you control gain indestructible until end of turn. It's a 2/3. This is an MDFC, so it's got a backside. It's got a sorcery on the other side, which is Deadly Vanity, 5, black, black, black. For a sorcery, it says choose a creature or planeswalker and then destroy all other creatures and planeswalkers.
So, very honestly, you're mostly looking at the front side of Selfless Glyph Weaver. Same thing you want Selfless Spirit. Literally, you can sack them to protect everything in play, including Extus. Yep. Play a removal spell, do something, get it right back into your hand. They're cheap. Play it immediately again, and just keep doing it. Not overpowered because you got to pay the mana for it, but it is consistent, and it is one of those things that it's a nice, clean protection solution, for this that Extus really takes advantage of.
And the fact that it's got the flexibility, at least Glyph Weaver as an MDFC, to have a board wipe on the backside, just in case you need it at that time, is always helpful. Yeah. I think these double face cards really pull their weight.
Yeah.
So another really good card. Oh no, that was it for the recursion protection. Of course, there's more in the deck, but those are some of our synergies. So let's talk about an alternate win condition that you have in this deck.
Yeah. So alternate win cons. The main one is just generally revel in riches. You're making a lot of tokens. If you have anointed procession out, you're doubling those tokens. There was a point where I had I'm going to jump ahead to an easy upgrade that we had. I took out of the deck because it's so expensive, but Dockside Extortionist. More treasure tokens. It's really not hard to get to 10 in this deck. That is why it's in the deck. It's a nice, clean alternate win condition. It's not never going to come up if your opponent's stuff dies again. We have a lot of removal. But really what you're looking at is this alternate win condition that you can really kind of sneak out of nowhere and just win the game if you get a little dicey.
You got a bunch of ways to make tokens in here. A lot of expensive ways. Yeah. Dockside might have been the most expensive, but you also have Smothering Tithe, which is expensive, and then the new monologue tax and all that. But Revel in Riches is the enchantment. Let me read that real quick, though. It's 4 and a black for enchantment. Whenever a creature an opponent controls dies, you create a colorless treasure artifact token, so it makes tokens. And then at the beginning of your upkeep, if you control 10 or more treasures, you win the game.
I want to say, too, I this deck had about 5 really good treasure token makers, and then again, if you know procession, it gets better. Now it's down to 4, just to try to keep the price again under that 600 where it started. It still makes a
It's still a
lot
lot.
of treasure tokens. I mean, imagine a situation: you got monologue tax, you got smothering, tithe out. What else do I have in the deck? I have the pitiless plunderer that makes treasure tokens whenever things die.
Yeah.
Really, you can make a lot of treasure tokens really quick in this deck.
Yes, you can. So it's definitely an altwing con you could get to, and you might be forced to play. So let's also talk about, besides altwing cons, talk about maybe some weaknesses that you noticed in the deck.
Yeah. Specifically, the weakness is counter spells. One of the games I played was against a mono blue player, so I'm a little biased. But I had no way to deal with if he got a counter spell off. I have no repercussion. I literally add to bulk trickery in to try to deal with that. So I have at least something. But even then, I have no way to protect from a counter spell without the Tibalt trickery in the slightest. Because the deck's completely open to it.
Mm-hmm.
And then graveyard hate. Again, Extus likes pulling things out of the graveyard if they keep on getting removed from it. Not the end of the world. Definitely, it takes a very cool thing that the deck wants to do out of it. It might be enough that you're going to lose the game from it. A little frustrating, especially if they're repeatedly doing it. So it's not a fun one. And then the last one is life gain. You're trying to punch in with these blood avatars.
Yeah.
Each one only does 6 damage, and while you can make a bunch of them and that might be able to overwhelm a life gain opponent, in my experience, when you're trying to punch somebody to death with something a lot more consistent, if they're able to heal more than the amount you can consistently get in with the blood avatars, eventually they'll outlast you, and then you'll be too far ahead and you can't come back.
Yeah. I wouldn't have thought of that life gain part, but you're right. Yeah, especially when you're playing combat heavy, or just like go wide and you want to swing in, people with life gain, that really does protect a bit. Or
it's not commander damage. Again, to be clear, a reminder.
Yeah.
The blood avatars are not commanders. It's just a sorcery that makes the token. So you're not going to win with commander damage, which would be maybe the way to get around that.
Yeah. And then I didn't pull up all the upgrades, but tell us a few cards that you had to cut to bring this down under all 400.
The 600. If you want the $600 version of this deck, a little scary.
Expensive cards back.
I had Teferi's Protection in the deck. It's like a $40 card. Fantastic card. I was like, oh yeah, Teferi's Protection. I even knew that one was expensive, but I was like, screw it, let's do it. And then I had Dictate of Erebos. So I was like, oh, whenever I sacrifice stuff, that could sacrifice stuff. Really make them hate me. So that was in the deck too.
It's okay because you put Terror Grid in, which can make them hate you even more sometimes.
They can also hate me, right? Terror Grid's a $4 I hate you. Dictate of Erebos was a $20 I hate you.
Yeah.
So I took out Erebos. I was going to say too, I also have Drannith Magistrate, which surprisingly pulls a lot of weight. I haven't played a deck with Drannith Magistrate in the deck. I'm just throwing that out there. It's in the normal deck, not an easy upgrade, but fantastic card. Just throwing that out there. Other ways your opponents hate you. Dockside Extortionist, as we said, really great. Probably the one, if you're going to add any of these back in, the first one I'd add in is Dockside Extortionist, also $50, which I can't believe I bought it for $15 now, and I thought that was too expensive. $50. Oh my god!
Hey, we need a reprint of Dockside. It needs to be in a regular set.
Exactly, or even just they could have. I feel like they could have thrown it in somewhere. On a side note, this has become Alex's complaint about the price of things hour. And Monastery Mentor in the deck, another $20 card. Why is that $20? I believe it was playing Legacy, which is my guess. But anyways, Alenda the Dusk Rose, $25 card. Why? I don't know. We need a reprint. Deflecting Swat. This one makes sense to me. $30 card. Great way to protect yourself though from sticky situations such as a counterspell. Really, really great pick, especially because often you might end up having access out. He likes to just sit there. You help protect him. So I definitely, if I were quick ones to add, if you're going to add in one or two of these, I would add Dockside Extortionist first and then Deflecting Swat personally.
If you need to get Deflecting Swat, I think you could still get the commander deck that it came in for the same price as the card. I think
that's how I got the Dockside Extortionist, Joel. I saw as I was leaving a Target, I believe one day, it was like $15. It wasn't even the normal price. They had marked it down for some reason. I was like, cool, let's get it. And then I was like, oh, Dockside Extortion is just $15. I literally just paid for that, and I got all the other cards extra.
Yeah, now you know it's worth 3-4 times that. There you go.
Exactly.
Well, this
anyways.
is Extus. This was fun. Like I said, to play against. I'd actually like to play your deck whenever I get a chance. I'd love to be able to play this guy. Lots of fun. Again, I give a lot of props to my buddy Alex here because he's building these decks, the whole thing. So we'll have, like usual, a link below if you want to go look at the whole deck list. And yeah, just let us know how you like it. Maybe if there are any deck techs or any topics or anything you guys want us to record on in the future. Yeah, we really appreciate you guys listening.
I want to say too, if you're interested in picking up the decks, we do have an affiliate link. And I want to say this specifically about this deck. This is a really fun deck to play as a longtime Magic Commander player. It feels like you're doing a lot. Everything matters. Everything synergizes. It really, I got back to, I mean, I don't know if I'm going to build this deck in person, but definitely of all the decks we've done more recently, I might build it in person. I might end up keeping this, not tear it apart or anything. I really feel like this one, I don't know. This one felt like a winner to me. Even if it has a small hiccups, I'm sure with a little massaging, anyone that, you take out a card here or there, but really, I felt this one was a fun deck.
Well, I might have an extra smothering tithe to trade with you if you do build it, Alex.
I'm tempted to, I'll tell you.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much for listening. Hope you have a great rest of your day. And until next time.
See ya.